we'll just give it a couple of minutes and then we'll just do an information instead of a meeting. So are we on live stream now?
Yes.
Okay. So anybody online, we don't have a quorum right now, so we are just waiting for one more person and we'll continue as an informational meeting. One more minute and then we'll just carry on. Okay, we're just gonna carry on. We won't be voting because we don't have a quorum, but we will take in information. And I just want to recognize that we are on the traditional territories, unceded traditional territories of the Tisha and the Hutchesset peoples. So basically, we'll just go through the agenda and without having a quorum and we'll miss approval of the agenda.
Sorry, Cindy, I
Yeah.
do have one late item.
Sure.
So I thought I could add it under 7 late business. It's Disability Alliance webinar invitation that I'd like to chat about.
Sounds great. Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to add anything to the agenda? No. Seeing none, okay. And any declarations? I think we kind of skipped that. Minutes. The minutes are on page 3 and 5. Anybody see any errors or omissions or anything like that? We're not going to adopt it because we need a quorum. Nope, seeing none. Okay, and correspondence for action. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I was contacted by a member of the public regarding accessibility at Sprout Lake Provincial Park. And while this provincial park is not a regional district service, I did engage with the member of public because I do know the contacts at Sprout Lake Provincial Park. The concern was the person I spoke to has limited mobility, but does access Sprout Lake through the provincial, the boat launch area. And there's only one accessibility parking spot. So quite often she's going down there with her children and they're excited to spend a day at the lake, and they get there and somebody is in the accessible parking spot who doesn't have a placard in their car. So she raised that concern. So I reached out to BC Parks and expressed that this is a concern and could they, look at installing more accessible parking spots at the lake. So I did attach the email and I did also reach out to BC Parks last week for an update, and they indicated that they will take this into consideration. They are doing some planning for a bigger scale project at the boat launch and at the park. But they were definitely open to discussing this. They were definitely open to taking this feedback and did seem positive in trying to improve accessibility at Sprout Lake. And I did highlight that there are some other challenges in reaching Sprout Lake at the main parking lot. It's quite steep and hard to access for people that have mobility issues. So so I just wanted to share that with the committee. And I thought that potentially if the committee is interested, we could invite BC Park staff to attend one of our meetings at some point when they're further along in their planning process, and just come and speak with us and learn a bit more about the concerns that we have as locals.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? I think it's a great idea to invite them. We're talking provincial government here, and they're the ones are saying like we need to look at the accessibility, and I think this is really important, especially in the parks. If we want more people to have accessibility into the parks, and I think it's a great idea. So, yeah, I really like that idea. Okay, anything else on correspondence? Okay. So, reports. Start with number A, Inclusive Play Society presentation. Oh, that's that's nothing to do. Do you have anything to add to it? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Solda. So I just wanted to provide an update that at Council for the City of Port Alberni's September Committee of the Whole meeting, the Inclusive Play Society presented as a delegation. And they presented a proposal for an inclusive park in the community. And so a bit of background, an inclusive park or playground is an open and safe space carefully designed to promote play amongst children of all abilities and ages. It gives children with and without disability the same platform to play while breaking down barriers, both physically and socially. And so just an update to that, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture has met with the society since that time and have also confirmed that our master plan consultants who are presently working on the Parks, Recreation and Culture Master Plan will invite the society to attend the community engagement sessions that are specific to user groups. Thank you.
That's great. I just want to add to that too, is that I think they should be invited here to give a nice presentation. What they presented to us at council was amazing. I call it, they seem to have all their ducks in order, basically. They've done some fundraising, and at the UBCM, just an update. I actually was talking to TELUS because they do sponsorships in that. And I mentioned the skateboard park as well as this, the Inclusive Play Society, and said, hey, they're looking for some funding and it would be great if you have TELUS written on something, and they seem to be interested. So that is a positive, and but I wanted to make sure the skateboard was also mentioned in that. So anyways, that was my little story here, but I believe that they should be invited because they're just ahead of the game, and it was the best presentation I've seen presented to council in a long time for asking for money and stuff, or be involved in this in the park. So anybody else have any questions? Yep.
I don't really have any questions, maybe just a comment. I know Heather and I have spoken. PACL has donated some Hobie mats to Parks and Recreation to be used by anybody who needs accessibility to areas that they may not be able to push a wheelchair on. These mats make soft ground and things like that accessible, and they are available through Parks and Rec. And I just think that it's important for people to know that there's some availability of that if they need accessibility to existing parks. Hi.
Sarah, you have comment?
Thank you, Chair Solda. I'll just update to that. I did follow up to find out what was transpiring with those mats, and thank you. And it's my understanding that they have provided them to a group that was able to use them immediately. So my apologies. I thought that was everybody had that information. So I can go back, report who exactly has those and where they're located. Okay, great. Thanks.
That would be great, because I actually did a follow-up and asked where those mats are, and I was told they're working out on master plan for the parks and that, where it would be best. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And thank you for the donation. I mean, it was great when you sent me that email, and I thought, right on. And I noticed it right away that Parksville or Qualicum have them, and it's great. So we just needed to find a proper place. Heather?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the presentation that was made at the city council. It was an excellent presentation. I watched it myself and they did a great job. Is the committee interested in extending the invite to the ladies that presented at city council? Because we can do that.
I believe we should, and you agree. And how about anybody disagree? Let's put it that way.
No.
Nope.
I've got my hand up, but no, I think it would be great to extend that invitation. I'm personally a little bit passionate about that piece of accessible playgrounds and parks and things like that. So I would love to see the presentation from them.
All right. And Amber, you're fine with that too, right? She is. Okay. Yeah, my only comment about that particular park that they wanted to go in is it's really hot in there. You know, I used to take my kids to the park, and by summer you just don't want to play in there because it's too hot. So
Which park was it?
it was down by the dike, Blair Park.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it's something to look at, but it's a big space, and between the city and this society, they can figure out what they would like to do from there. They go for it. Next, City of Port Alberni Master Planning, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair Solda. So I just wanted to provide an update on our master plan program process. And so I'll provide a bit of background on what master plans are, and then I'll launch into where we're at presently. So master plans are strategic long-term planning encompassing all of a municipality's infrastructure and programs. And it's an important tool used by cities to ensure funds are spent where they are most needed, and to ensure that city governments attain and maintain the levels of services expected by their citizens. This year, for the first time, the city is embarking on the development of a series of comprehensive citywide strategic master plans that cover all of the city's infrastructure and departments. These plans will build on the official community plan and past planning studies to provide the city with a roadmap of repair, renovation, improvement, and growth projects that are most needed in the next 10 years and beyond. Citizens' input will be critical during the development of these plans to ensure that the city's projects and expenditures in the coming years reflect what is most important to the community. The first master planning project, Parks, Recreation, and Culture, is underway. And following that will be the Transportation Master Plan, Fire Services, Stormwater, Watershed Protection, Greenhouse Gas Management Plan for city infrastructure, and then wastewater and water. Round one of engagement for the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan is underway, and there's presently a survey and an ideas map online. So all of our master plan engagement is done through the city's engagement platform on letsconnectpa.ca. So you'll see that there's an overarching master plan page, and then each master plan itself for each department will have its own page. So if you visit there, you can complete the survey and the ideas map. Of course, there's always availability of hard copies. If you come into City Hall or any of our departments, or phone or email, and we'd be happy to mail those out as well. This particular master plan for Parks, Rec, and Culture will be conducted over 3 phases. And so the first phase is what we're in right now, and that will be moving on to the end of fall, and it'll be a current system assessment and understanding of needs. Phase 2 will work into strategic framework and draft directions. And then, of course, phase 3 will be finalizing the master plan. The Transportation Master Plan is the other one that we've just presently launched. And so that will be a really important one for the community, because it will talk about accessibility issues such as sidewalk, crosswalks, bump outs. And we're in the process right now with our consultants of drafting a list of community interest groups and organizations relevant to accessibility issues. And we'll provide direct invitations to these groups, soliciting their input to the master plan. So once again, it's at letsconnectpa.ca. And of course, please reach out to any of our departments if you have any ideas, need information, or would like to provide input. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions about the master plans? We have a lot of master plans going on. So Heather, yes.
Sarah, when is the survey open till for the parks? And could you send us the link, and then we can send it out to the committee members?
Thank you. Yes, of course. The survey and the ideas map is open until October 25th, and I would be happy to I'll send out both the link for the Parks, Rec, and Culture directly, as well as the master plan program. And just one more comment, if I may, I just wanted to include that the accessibility plan that was adopted here and then subsequently adopted by council, and the recommendations that came out of that plan, we see a real linkage between the master plan process and those recommendations. So it is our hope that as we work through these master plans that each have an accessibility component, that it's really going to be, all of those recommendations will be considered and either rectified or adapted to. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to see it go in our building too. You know, there's a lot of buildings that in Port Alberni, and they're old buildings that have no accessibility, not up to standards anyways. And I'd like to see that be carried on. Anybody else have anything else to say? And if anybody has, if you know anybody who has trouble understanding what the master plans are or anything like that, just call the city and they'll walk you through it and explain it all. I think that's really important to have that accessibility, to make that call and be able to work with the city staff on that. Okay, let's move on. ACRD Accessibility Work Plan. Heather.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna try and share my screen here. Bear with me. Okay, so I would like to give you an update on the ACRD's accessibility plan. So, after the plan was adopted by the ACRD board, I took all of the recommendations from the plan and put it into a work plan. So I put it into a spreadsheet and I didn't provide it mostly because it's a big document and it's unwieldy to view on just a computer screen. Or on paper, but I thought I would share it with you. So the spreadsheet is basically a way for myself and other staff in the regional district to ensure that we're following up on the recommendations and coming up with basically a work plan on how we're going to undertake these activities. So I'll just give an example. The second item here is under events and activities. And one of the recommendations out of the plan was to develop and implement an accessible events checklist for the regional district when we're doing public engagement, but also for community groups to utilize. So the purpose of the checklist would be to ensure that when staff are setting up an engagement, that they're thinking about accessibility, like are the posters printed in a font that everybody's going to be able to read? Are there going to be displays of different heights so that if somebody is sitting, they can read the displays? Are there going to be areas where people can sit and rest instead of standing the whole time? So those are examples of things that we're going to be working on. My spreadsheet also includes like the staff lead, and where we can find some of this information. We don't intend to create everything from scratch. We intend to pull from other local governments if other local governments have already created these things. And the status, we have not started on it yet, but I've also outlined when we're intending to work on all of these things. For this item, the checklist, we intend when that's prepared to bring it back to the committee and look for feedback from the committee members on whether it's acceptable before putting into place. So the priorities for this quarter for the regional district are developing a policy for ACRD events, developing the checklist, and also sourcing staff training. So I'm going to stop sharing here. So as of yet, I haven't found any suitable training. I have found some online courses, but we want to be able to offer this training to all of our staff. And the online options that I found right now are quite pricey. So we will look at sourcing maybe some in-house training from experts, because I don't feel that I am an expert to deliver this type of training myself. However, I think it's important for our staff to become have a base level of knowledge, but also we want to focus on communications and becoming more accessible in our social media posts and our advertisements in the newspaper, and just building a bit of a culture of accessibility. So those are the things that we're going to be working on for this quarter. And like I said, as we develop products or policies, we'll bring back to this committee for your input. And I'll stop there.
Thanks, Heather. Anybody have questions? No, I just want to give you an example. Okay, so as you know, I do some concerts and stuff like that, and accessibility for wheelchairs and stuff like that. So as an example, ADSS, the theater there, they have so many seats for wheelchairs, and same as the multiplex, et cetera. And when it's filled with a couple of wheelchairs, and some of those wheelchairs are huge and take up a lot of space, then you get more wheelchairs, and then there's a problem with accessibility. So I think we have to also start looking at how much space do we allow for the wheelchairs? Because as we're building, we're thinking of the little wheelchairs that everybody used to use. They're not using those anymore. And then you got their scooters. Some have to have a scooter to come in. So that might be something to start looking in the planning part of it. I had that issue with a concert, and it's like, oh my God, where do I put this person, right? Other people have let me know that they're coming in a wheelchair, and that's fine. But as we get bigger and bigger, and the society has changed in scooters and wheelchairs and different shapes and sizes and stuff like that, we need to look at a bigger picture. So it's something to put in all our planning. How much space do we allow? And with an aging society, we need to start looking. And don't forget, they have people that come with them that help them. So where do you put them? So that's another thing too. And they all want to be together. They don't want to be one down here and one over here and the chairs there. So I'm just pointing that out in accessibility here. Okay, so let's just go to the next. Late business. Heather, sorry.
Thank you. So we had received an email after we had sent out the agenda last week. It's from Disability Alliance BC, and it's an invitation to a webinar on October 17th at 10 a.m. And it's to learn more about the Accessible British Columbia Act, a piece of legislation that has been recently enacted. So it's a way for committee members to ask questions of the province if you have questions. Kristen's going to email it out to you after the meeting, the invitation with the Zoom link if you're interested. I will attend myself. I'm not sure if it's of interest to any of the committee members, but I just wanted to provide it in the event that it was interest to you.
Great. That's yeah, I'd be interested, and I'm sure I'd see some people here that would be interested too. So let's send out the link. Okay. Anybody have any questions or anything they want to add?
I just do want to mention that we actually do have an attendee. You can use the Q&A in Zoom if you have questions. We'll just wait a minute if you do have questions.
Okay, so we'll wait a second here, and I forgot the introductions from everybody, you know, that I kind of skipped because it was so informal. So while people are, if you're typing anything, let's just do a quick, so the public know who has attended. I'm Cindy Solda, City Councillor representing the City of Port Alberni, and
Nicole Usselman with the Port Alberni Association for Community Living. I'm the Executive Director.
Heather
Zenner, Manager of Administrative Services for the Regional District.
Sarah
Darlene, Director of Corporate Services for the City of Port Alberni.
next.
Kristen Cardonahue, Administrative Assistant for the Alberni Pipewater Regional District.
And online, Jamie.
Jamie Tatry, member of the Accessibility Committee.
Amber.
Amber Severinson, also a member of this committee.
And that's who is in attendance today. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. And are we going in camera?
Yeah, so if you could just read out the reasons that we go in camera. Once that's done, then Kristen will stop the live streaming.
Okay, and there's no questions from the members? Okay, no. Okay, so we're going to go in camera, and for 91, information that is prohibited or information that if were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of Freedom of Information and Protection of the Privacy Act. 21(1)(2) commercial, financial, labor relations, specific or technical information of or about a third party. So we're gonna go from here. Thank you, everyone that has joined us, and members stay online, and there's nobody in the public at all watching, is there, at this moment?
There is one attendee, but Kristen's gonna stop the live streaming.